Championship. The champion Carlos Monzon, undefeated in 11 years, has won 78 in a row against Tony Licata. He has lost only one of his 50 fights. We're ready to go with round number one. And there is an old man somewhere in Lutz, Florida, watching tonight's fight, Bill Gore, who was Tony Licata's original trainer. He's watching tonight. Bill, your man Tony Licata is in there against the best. The very best of luck to him and to you, Bill Gore. Tony Licata, his best punch is his left hand. His best punch is a jab. He can box. He's got a good chin. This is the book on him. Carlos Monzon, there is nothing that I can tell you that would be a weakness for this man. He is a complete fighter, a perfectly complete fighter, and he is now showing that he is even a little more than that by complaining early in the round about a butt. He doesn't want to suffer the same fate that his countryman Victor Galindez suffered in the first fight. And he's a little afraid of Tony using his head. Tony Licata in the black trunks with the white piping, and the champion Carlos Monzon black with red. That's Monzon. If you have a black and white screen, Monzon is the man with the striped socks. The referee is Tony Perez. Monzon just taking his time. He's waiting. He's waiting for Licata to make the big mistake of rushing in on him. Licata's, the left side of his nose is a little bit red. Licata is a little bit tight. And it could be expected of a 23-year-old fighting in Madison Square Garden for the first time and fighting the great Carlos Monzon for the world middleweight title. We're in round number one, and 2 minutes have gone by. They say that Monzon is fighting on 33-year-old legs and that he could go at any time. And it's always the one fight where he shows up. Will it be this fight or will it be this fight? Only time will tell. Tony Licata, young, 23 years old, still on the upgrade. Hasn't reached his top level yet, the experts say. Trying to do it tonight against the best. Undefeated in 11 years, 78 in a row. Carlos Monzon. Monzon trained very hard for this fight here in New York. Had trouble getting sparring partners. Nobody wanted to work with him. Everybody said he hits too hard and they don't need it for the kind of money they get as a sparring partner. Good right hand by Monzon. The round is almost over. Round number one. Monzon is a methodical fighter. That's the end of round number one. And let's follow the champion over to his corner. As I started to say, he's a methodical fighter. There have been many, many cases where he has spotted his opponent 4 rounds, 5 rounds, whatever, and then he went to work on him. The case in point would be Jose Napoles not long ago, last year. For the first 4 or 5 rounds, it was all Jose Napoles, the welterweight champion, who was trying to take Monzon's middleweight title. And Monzon spotted him the first 4 or 5 rounds, and then he really took him apart. There was no fight after that. Monzon, a real technician. Notice that he is not sitting on a stool. He prefers to stand. If the pace gets a little tired, you can bet your life he will a little bit later. But he's a real technician. He's a master boxer. He can punch. He can put you away with either hand. He punches as good with the right hand as he does with the left. And he seems completely unconcerned. He's got the manner of a champion. He's got all the mannerisms. He's got the aloofness of one. And let's see if he can keep it all the way through this fight, or whether he will spoil the dream of Tony Licata. We're in round number 2 for the world middleweight title. Carlos Monzon, he is on the far side with the striped socks, and that's Tony Licata in the black trunks with the white piping. Tony Licata, 23 years old. He's going to have to move in this fight, because Monzon hasn't turned it on yet. He's just looking Licata over as much as to say, come on, young fella, let's see what you've got. I'll take a few samples and then we'll go to work.
会うまでがですね、3ラウンドに、ダウンされました。
During his sparring sessions in the gym here in New York while he was training for the fight, I noticed that Monzon did miss with his right hand quite a bit. He just threw a long right hand that went over the head of Tony Licata. And if he's depending on that right hand tonight, he better be a lot more sharp with it than he was in his sparring sessions while he was training. We're in round number 2, and we're at Madison Square Garden, and this is John Condon with you. This is the second of 2 world title fights out of the Garden tonight. Coming up, you know what, from Kuala Lumpur, Muhammad Ali and Joe Bugner for the world heavyweight title. Monzon, very, very aloof. Walks in, throws half-speed punches, trying to sucker Licata into throwing a punch. Licata is well-schooled. He's got a good manager. He's got a very smart manager, Lou Viscosi. He's had 3 world champions. Willie Pep was one of them. And he's got Eddie Futch in his corner, who is the manager and trainer of Joe Frazier, the former world heavyweight champion. Willie Pep and Eddie Futch and Lou Viscosi in the corner of Tony Licata. Whether they can help him win this fight or not remains to be seen. Of course, when the bell rings, they pat him on the butt. He walks out to the middle of the ring, and the 3 of them sit down and watch. Licata caught a left hand. He caught a left hand. He started to throw his right hand, and it hurt him a little bit. It hurt him, and Monzon knows it. Monzon knows it. He caught Licata with a left hand. He hurt him. Monzon caught him with a left hand. He pushes the left hand. Now he knows that he has Licata in trouble. And Licata's going to have to move out of there because this is a real smart champion. He's going to take advantage of everything. Licata had better get on a bicycle right now to stay out of trouble. He is hurt, and he's flat-footed, and he's walking around the ring, and the left hook is the punch that did it. He threw a punch, it landed, and he fell down, and that's the end of the round number 2. The left hook that Licata threw just at the end of the round just grazed off the chin, I thought, of Carlos Monzon, and the momentum carried him through. He fell down. It did not bother Monzon at all. Monzon went down, or rather, Licata went down after he threw the left hook from momentum. The force of the blow did not have any effect whatever on Carlos Monzon, who was standing in his corner. Licata was in trouble early in the round from the left hook. Licata was a little confused. Here comes the left hook. There it is. I just glanced or grazed the chin of Monzon, and the momentum, as I say, carried him through. He went down, and the round ended right there. We're getting ready now for round number 3. Licata was in trouble in that round from the left hook. Monzon knows what he can do now. Monzon is a smart champion, as we said. He probably has Licata figured out now. He probably figures that he might be able to do it with the left hand. He is trying to sucker Licata into coming at him, and if he does, he's going to try to catch him. Monzon is very worried about that butt. He holds his head back, and when they get inside, he just throws his head right up to the sky and tries to keep his head away, his chin or his eyes away from the head of Tony Licata. We're in round 3. Tony Licata stung in the second round, hurt. Monzon looking for the opening. Methodical fighter, as I told you, slips half-speed punches into the midsection. He's throwing half-speed punches. The left hook that he threw was a full-force punch, and he did some damage with it. Tried to follow it up, but Licata got out of trouble. Apparently, they've told Licata to move now, use up the ring, and Monzon says, come on and fight. Licata says, come and get me, or Monzon says, come and get me, but Licata is not about to do that. Monzon is putting on a little bit of a show now. It is not going to bother Licata, I'm sure. He is not going to do what Mr. Monzon wants him to do. Monzon wants him to take the lead. He wants him to move in. He wants to catch him coming in. Licata moving from side to side. A flurry by Monzon. Good, his punches are landing. They're not full force punches, but they're landing. He's opening up a little bit more now than he did in the first 2 rounds. Licata is strictly a boxer. Monzon a puncher and a boxer. He can do both. Round number 3. Monzon with his back to us. That's Licata on the left. 10 years difference in age. Monzon 33, Licata 23. Monzon an excellent
モンソンが33歳、リカタが23歳って言ってますね。
78 in a row. He's working on a 79th, undefeated in 11 years. The champion, the middleweight champion of the world.
11年間、最近11年間
Fighting a
負けてい
young
ない。
23-year-old.